Hello, dear friends, and welcome to our show, Secrets of the Eternal Book, where we talk about the Pentateuch and reveal its secrets. Bereshit, episode number 4. As always, with us is the Kabbalist Dr. Michael Lightman. Hello. Hello. We're in the Garden of Eden. Not bad. True. But we're almost out of there. We already sinned a bit. Right. And now dramatic events will start unfolding. For now, we have the man, the woman, and the serpent that acted through the woman. The woman seduced the man. Right. And so they ate the fruits of the tree in the center of the garden. So, just in order to refresh our viewers' memory, can you explain again about the tree? Maybe you can remind us. Okay, I'll do my best. In man exists sheer egoism, and this egoism works toward bestowal, and is called Adam, and a second part of the egoism is separated from him, that's called Eve. This is what I feel when I start reading the book. Right. When you correctly study the wisdom of Kabbalah, it brings you to that state where you consist out of these two parts that start colliding between them. Actually, we have to learn how to correctly connect them as two fundamental basic forces in me with the help of which I can advance, that you can't exist without. Right. And in our world, everything's made up of two forces, plus and minus, north and south, day and night. There can't be the one without the other, like in an atom, like in any matter. Everything's based on valence, on opposites. When does the serpent appear? He appears to the measure to which these two parts develop in a person. Suddenly he's felt in the egoistic part, in the next level of our egoistic development, that says that there's an even higher egoism that pushes a person towards using others for his personal benefit, not just to use the surroundings for the minimum that he needs in order to exist and to live in harmony with everyone else, but in order to exploit others, meaning to suppress them because it makes me feel good, deceive them because I'll have more. In short, to use everyone else, making them inferior and myself superior, and to suck from them. And this is what the serpent in me says. Right, and that's just the beginning. So appears such a quality in a person, and a person has to acknowledge it. He has to see, how does it work? And how does it work is described through the tasting of the fruit of the Garden of Eden. And not just any fruit, but specifically this fruit of knowing good and evil. Meaning, before that, a person didn't even know what good or bad is. He can't evaluate his ego as something evil. He thinks, oh, great, good strong forces, the more egoistic I am, the more I can achieve, I can be a great scientist, a leader, I could be rich, etc., etc. When a person has a little ego, he's satisfied with the least, with little things, and he remains small. So the ego can be considered as something good, or it could be considered as something bad. If I rise above this ego, and I look at it from the other side, that by it I suppress others, use others, deceive them, is it good or bad? How do you evaluate this? How do you measure it? If we look at it from our human point of view, then the ego is good. Progress, right? All the leaders, the bankers, different managers, businessmen, politicians, all leaders, doesn't matter who and what. They reach their position thanks to their great big ego. And it's good on the one hand. On the other hand, if I will compare myself to the higher force of nature that's based only on love and bestowal, thanks to which the whole of nature exists, because everything exists only due to connection, mutual bestowal, mutual support, like the parts of our body. The heart thinks about how to work for the entire body. The lungs work for the entire body. The liver, spleen, etc., etc. The brain, right. No organ does anything only for its own sake, but for the sake of the functioning of the entire organism. It's not even that one acts for the sake of the other. For example, the heart for the liver for the lungs, etc. But they're all working for something called an organism, a system, in harmony. Right. So if I start thinking about a universal harmony, about the harmony between all people, about this general force of nature that you can call creator or nature, it doesn't matter, then I start seeing my ego as something evil. Meaning the tree of knowledge, good and evil, shows me why did I previously feel good about being the biggest egoist, and today I have to feel bad being the biggest egoist. So the tree of knowledge, good and evil, is actually what the serpent predicts. He says it will open your eyes. You will truly see what good and evil is, because before that, they existed maybe in that same ego, only without feeling that it's bad. And now you're entering the next level, and that's why it's called the tree of knowledge. So is the serpent good or evil? The serpent is a tremendous egoistic force that in and of itself leads a person to its denial. You remember materialism of Marxism, law of denying denial, that you cannot move forward unless we're stable in this degree, denying it, and only because we deny it do we start building the new degree. Therefore, the previous one, thanks to its denial, becomes like a springboard to the next degree. This the serpent. The serpent always helps us to rise to the level of the creator. That's why it said, I have created a woman as helpmate against you. Meaning, on the one hand, it's help, but on the other hand, as if against you. So it depends how we use this. And it's the same in our world. If we correctly use each other in order to advance, and in our world we can't correctly use each other, everything's always based on suppression. Like we said before, that a woman is ready to give 9 parts of 10 for connection with a man is ready to give only 1/10. This is how it is by nature. But if they're connected together toward a common goal, it doesn't matter how many parts they give each other. They cannot live without each other. In order to give birth, to create the following degree, they have to be in harmony, meaning by using the 1/10 and the 9/10, they have to build a new and complete degree. When is a marriage strong? Well, it's still early to talk about this now, but now that we're entering this general crisis, when we will start correctly using it, realizing it, I think that all these broken marriages, divorces that occur in families nowadays, which is one of the signs of the crisis, they'll start reuniting, but in a correct connection now, because the upper force for the sake of which they can act together will appear, and it will connect them. And this what they have to feel in a marriage? Not only in a marriage, between all people in the world. We're in a state where we feel that we have to be connected. But who can connect us? Who can raise us above our ego in order to connect? I don't trust you, you don't trust me, etc., etc. Banks don't trust each other, people don't trust each other. Meaning we felt our separation. It was there before too. But it was on an animal level, and therefore we could do something still. But now that we've risen to the next level, we've revealed the serpent between us, and we can no longer connect. Here we necessarily need the upper force. So the feeling that there is the law of love that connects us, this is that force. This is the recognition of good and evil. How can a person understand that this law exists? He has to continue developing his ego, but after he has already tasted this forbidden fruit, and this forbidden fruit exists in the wisdom of Kabbalah, a person starts attracting upon himself the upper, higher light, and this upper light starts depicting his inner ego, his inner states in their correct form in relation to himself, and on the background of this white light, a person starts seeing how dark he is. It's like you bring a flashlight into the dark, and suddenly he discovers that he was in the dark, but there's this flashlight and he can see. And so it's written, and the eyes have opened for both, and realized that they're naked, and they sawed fig leaves together and made themselves clothes, meaning they realized that they are in fact pure egoists, that they're naked, right, in relation to this higher force. Naked, nude, means that they have no resistance against their ego. So they have to as if clothe themselves against it. They have to use this ego for the purpose of bestowal, the intention in order to bestow, just like the higher force of nature. Man needs to tune in to the general harmony of nature, to be in harmony with everyone else and with the entire system of humanity and nature and everything. And this attitude of mine toward others, an altruistic attitude of love and bestowal, is called a clothing over my ego, where I use it in order to connect with others. So they felt that they're lacking the clothing, and therefore they were ashamed. And shame is a necessary quality for development. Imagine, were there no shame on our level, we'd just simply be even worse than animals. Well, we're that way anyway, but we'd stay that way. When we tell a person that you're shameless, you feel no shame, etc., well, this is said to a person in regard to some common changing human standards. And he can say, yeah, I have no shame. What are you going to do about it? And in most cases, you can't even say anything to that person. You're afraid, or he's in such a position, etc. Meaning, it's all conventions. But if it's revealed to you personally, in regard to the light, that you're a complete egoist, that you're all the time inside yourself, exploiting others all the time, and that it's against the entire comprehensive nature, then this feeling of absolute shame appears in a person, meaning not in relation to others, but in relation to the absolute. So it turns out that I feel naked and that I'm ashamed of it. When does this shame appear? This shame, this force, this motive, is what moves man. So I start feeling that there's bestowal and that it's very good and that I'm a complete egoist and I'm ashamed. Right. But from this shame, slowly comes the understanding of how can I further act. And how do I act? I myself can't act. I'm an absolute egoist. I'm in a state where it is absolutely impossible to change anything about me, and that's called the recognition of evil in a person. And when a person comes to the recognition of evil, then inside of him he starts seeing who created that evil in me. Give him to me. And there he discovers the Creator. And about that it says that the Creator made clothes for them. And then he turns to the Creator. But he comes to that strongly accusing the Creator, as if cursing, who am I? What am I? And there he finds his clothes. And it said, and they heard how a voice of God Almighty goes through the garden when the day is cooled down, and a man has hidden himself with his wife from the God Almighty among the trees of the garden. And God Almighty has called upon man and said, where are you? And he said, I heard your voice in the garden and got scared that I'm naked and hidden myself. So the Creator is asking him, where are you? Meaning the Creator is the general force of nature, of love and bestowal. And he's asking man, who are you? How do you see yourself? And man answers, I discovered that I'm naked, that I'm an egoist. Right. And he said, who told you that you're naked? Is it from the tree which I commanded you not to eat? Have you eaten from it? And a man said, my wife that you have gave me, she gave me from that tree, and I ate. He accuses the Creator, actually. You gave me, and I took it. Meaning he actually discovers the entire chain of cause and consequence that occurred in him, that this is how he came to this current state of the recognition of evil. But actually, we have to say that all that already existed in a person, only he developed now to an extent where he discovers it inside of himself. It's development. And the God Almighty said to the wife, "What did you do?" And the wife said, "The serpent has seduced me, and I ate." And God Almighty said to the serpent, "Because you did this, you will be cursed more than any cattle and wild animals. You will be walking by means of your belly, and you will only eat dust from all of your days to come." So the qualities of this final ultimate egoism is explained to man, that this quality lays in the foundation of the whole of creation. And could it be better or worse? It doesn't matter how you put it. The thing is that this is what the whole of nature is based on. What does it mean that the Creator cursed the serpent in me? Meaning that the quality, which is the complete opposite of the Creator, is revealed. And what is a curse? A curse is this last and final quality that no matter what can't reach the Creator, and actually, it's not in a person's ability to control his ego and do something good, exalted by it, that's above any self-interest. And that's why it tells the serpent that you'll crawl on the ground and never rise. Right. And all your other parts that are connected to you, meaning even Adam, they will nonetheless be connected with you, and all of you are cursed. The earth is cursed, all of creation is cursed, meaning the curse was discovered, the complete oppositeness of the Creator. Man by nature is an egoist, right? In that, man's complete egoism is revealed. Here I am, with all of my egoistic spectrum, with all of my desires, from small to great, and I'm the complete opposite of the Creator. This is what is revealed to him now. And we can say that this is actually where creation begins, and this is why it's called in the beginning. This is the beginning. Why am I not despaired? I'm cursed. The serpent's in me, the egoism. I'll never be able to rise to the level of the Creator. I'll never attain his qualities. You're asking about yourself. I'm asking about the person who's reading. You're asking just in case. Because a person doesn't understand or feel this, were he to acknowledge this state, he couldn't stand it. Does a person have to achieve despair? Yes, because from that final state, can you start rising upwards? There, in that final state, and this is how it is actually on every degree. When you attain your complete dead end and that you're in a no way out situation, there opens the entrance to the next degree, the next dimension. So a person has to come to a dead end, right? But he needn't be afraid of this dead end, but to push himself towards it against any rationale, our egoistic rationale, meaning our great big mind and all of our thoughts and contemplations and experience and everything, that we as if imagine that we understand something, see something. Despite all that, a person has to push himself towards the dead end. We said that the Pentateuch, these are like degrees according to which we advance. There are 125 degrees and other calculations that separate between us and the Creator. So at the end of each degree, we have to come to despair. Yes, only then can we rise to the next degree. And these disappointments, they constantly accompany a person who climbs the ladder and has to be ready for them in advance. What do I do when I come to despair? Every time you're revealing this final egoism, but more and more deeply, you as if go to its left into deeper and deeper despair and darkness, and from there you go to the right. And you reach some kind of revelation of the Creator, the tree of revealing evil, and from the evil revealing the good. You attain greater evil and greater good, etc. And this is how you expand to infinity. What happens inside a person when he's at a dead end? He comes to an outcry. He comes to the understanding that he himself is incapable of doing anything on the one hand, and that it's impossible to remain in this state, and that no one can help him. And there he sees that there is help that comes from the side of the light, because the light has created the ego. Only you have to reach the very end of the egoism, and there, from the other side, you see the light that sustains, that holds this egoism up in order for it to exist and for you to be able to reach its bottom. So the hope is actually the revelation of the next degree. Right, and further comes a feeling of happiness, and again, right, as always, after happiness comes that's life. And it says, I will insert a hostility between you and your wife and between your successors and her successors, meaning you will not be able to interact in harmony. The qualities of bestowal and reception. Right, in order to continue normally developing, you'll need to be in search, in tremendous suffering, meaning in analysis and self scrutiny of your own states and qualities, and only in the correct synthesis between them will you be able to gradually understand who you really are and how to attain the next degree. Furthermore, it's going to be against your egoistic development, against your inner egoistic program that will push you only to receive, because by that, man, Adam, as if fell under the domain of Eve and the serpent. And here what happens is that the man ceases to be a man, the bestower, and here he falls under the influence of all of these left qualities, the serpent, right, and only they push him forward. But because of that, he advances and, as a result, pulls them with him and corrects them, meaning the entire correction is on the man, and the work of pushing is upon the woman and the serpent, etc. And why does it say here that all of their successors will be cursed too? Everything that will come from them, since it's created by the egoism, will naturally be egoistic. Only at the end of this egoistic development, gradual egoistic development, will they come to the recognition of evil and will reach their correction and harmony with the whole of creation. And that's why it says, cursed is the earth because of you, meaning the vegetative and the animate nature is cursed because of man. Meaning, because they're all lower than man, they're all dependent on him. We said that these are the still vegetative and animate qualities inside a person, and the human level of the ego, and everything that we feel around us. And further it says, there's this phrase that, if you read it through human eyes, it sounds like a total curse. And to his wife he said, I will increase your sorrow during your pregnancy. In sorrow you will be giving birth to your children, and will create your dependence on a man, and he will be ruling over you. Here it tells us about the precise realization of the ego in its normal form, meaning that the birth of the next degree actually happens in horrible struggles. Right, the attainment of the next spiritual degree comes from horrible struggles and search in a very hard way. If it's egoistic, then it's under the influence of the negative forces of nature, like we're being constantly pushed to develop, like it is all throughout history, meaning all of mankind will advance in agony and struggle. And you'll give birth to children, meaning the next degrees will always be born in struggle and different wars, revolutions. It's the male part. And even though that it's supposed to lead you forward, to lead all of mankind, it has to be closer to the Creator to attain connection with the Creator. Instead of that, it will absorb the egoism from the female part in order to dominate it, meaning the male part, when it bestows, then it acts in harmony with nature. And if it is connected to the ego, then it works to the detriment of nature. We can explain it as follows. Either I'm like a child that grabs something from you, and you see that my actions are pretty primitive. It's interesting, so I take it. And that's why we don't get mad at children. He comes, grabs something, takes something away from you. But if a grown-up does it, he goes in circles around you as if he's doing something to your benefit, etc., etc. He's doing it as if for your sake in order to get something out of you, meaning he's using the quality of bestowal, he as if interests you in order to get even more out of you. So that male part of the quality of bestowal uses itself in order to as if on the outside show that I'm doing it for your sake, together, etc., in order to egoistically grab even more. That male part becomes even worse than it was before because inside of it sits this great big serpent. It reminds me of politicians that say, I'm doing it for the sake of the country, the nation. Yeah, and also this how people treat each other, meaning we always relate to people as if positively, etc., only in order to get some kind of benefit out of it for ourselves. That's called bestowing in order to receive. Not just to receive, but I as if give something in order to receive even more. As if here is where the adhesion between Adam and Eve occurs, and Adam, this is where he becomes active. Active how? He becomes an egoist, more inclined toward the woman and the serpent. Right, like you just read. So in sorrow you'll be giving birth to your children, and you'll be dependent on your man, and he will be ruling over you. Yes, meaning that he'll use this ego in an even worse way. And so he said to Adam, because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat of it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil you will eat off it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow will you eat your food until you will return to the ground, since from it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you will return. There are many egoistic inner definitions here. The earth and the dust. Dust is the final ego that you can't correct because nothing grows from it. You came from dust and you'll return to dust, meaning the final state of creation is dust. Dust is that out of which you can't make anything, nothing will grow from it. It contains no minerals, no juices of life as if. So this is the ego that became revealed now, and man will have to completely investigate his entire egoistic internality. He'll have to divide it into what he can and can't correct, and all that is becoming revealed to him now. So man starts understanding that he as if came from dust and he'll return to dust, meaning he came from the ego, and as if, what does it mean to go back to being dust? Meaning, to begin with, he was created, he was made out of egoism, but he was created and put in the Garden of Eden. Meaning he was created an egoist, but then he was raised to the degree of bestowal and altruism, and now on that degree of bestowal and altruism, he connected the ego to him gradually. Eve, the serpent, the apple, etc., and man discovered this tremendous egoism on the level of the Garden of Eden and fell from it to the lowest degree, which actually suits this ego. And this is called the exile from the Garden of Eden, and we exist inside this tremendous egoism of ours. Can we depict our world as dust? This is how we define it. There are such people, unfortunately, that define it as something good, full of light and opportunities. But I think that nonetheless today, gradually, people are already talking more and more about dust. We're finally coming to this degree. We're at the very beginning of our spiritual development. We're starting to feel that our world's completely egoistic. Right, and how's that called? Dust. Meaning that nothing good can come from our world. And all of our amusements? No, only if we rise to the next degree. On the level of our world, rules only our petty egoism. So, on this optimistic note, that we can rise above the dust, we're concluding our show. Unfortunately, our time's up. Dear friends, we're concluding today's show. Today we talked about our world, about dust, and also about the ability to rise above it. And we'll talk about this more in our next shows. Be with us till next time. All the best.